Good morning everybody. Following on from Kathy Quilt's and Crafts video yesterday, where she was preparing all her fabrics for a double wedding ring quilt, I thought I'd start my first foundation paper piecing, showing you how to actually do a double wedding ring using foundation paper piecing. So that is the pattern, and it's going to be quite simple, I hope. I've already cut some 2.5 inch squares, which I think I can use. They just about fit the back, which I'm sure they'll be fine. And so to start foundation paper piecing, you need to fold your paper along each of the lines. Just fold it back and crease it forward so that you've got a good fold on that part of your paper, and just work your way along on all of the 6 pieces. This is just preparing your pattern. It's so that it makes it easier for when you actually create it. The background square of fabric that these will be fixed to will be 12.5. I would suggest you cut it at 13 to give you plenty of leeway around it. So once you've folded your paper, start with your first piece and place your first piece of fabric. Not sure whether you can see the fold there, just so that it overlaps about 1/4 inch. And then the first piece, if it's got a right and a wrong side of the fabric, you place it so that your back of your fabric is facing the back of the template. So your numbers are on that side and your fabric's on the other side. You can pin this in place if that makes it a little bit easier for you. And then your second piece of fabric, you place right sides together onto your paper. Now you've got an overlap here of about 1/4 inch. Now there are 2 ways to sew it. If you want to sew through the paper, you can. That's if you're just starting out, that is probably the best way to do it. Or if you're more experienced, you can fold your paper back and you can stitch right along this edge of your paper. That way you can save your pieces of pattern and use them over and over again. But if you're new to it, I would suggest you actually take your paper and your fabric that's pinned together to the machine and actually just sew down this line. And then when we come back, then I will show you the next stage. Okay, so as you can see, I've stitched down. Now my sewing machine isn't actually that great at I can't line it up very well, but that doesn't matter. If you're not on the line exactly, it doesn't matter. So then you will take your piece of fabric and you fold it back. Now, because I'd already cut these pieces of fabric because they're just scraps at 2.5 inch, I've just had to slide this piece down just a fraction to make sure that it reached the bottom because of the curve. That's fine. Then fold your paper back. Now this is where, if you have an add 1/4 inch ruler, it's helpful, because once your paper's folded back, if you push your paper up to the lip of the ruler here. That then gives you an accurate guide for when you're trimming off this edge of the fabric. So it'll give you an exact 1/4 of an inch seam. Now if you don't have a 1/4 of an inch ruler, you don't need one, because you can do it just as easily by placing your pattern on that 1/4 inch line where you folded it back and trimming off that extra. So it still gives you the 1/4 of an inch, so that doesn't actually matter too much. So we'll just trim that off and we'll come back. So first 2 pieces are added. Now we're ready to add the 3rd piece of fabric. Let's see, what shall I add? I'm sorry, I might add that spot. Again, you need to just shift your fabric down a fraction so that when you flip it, you're going to make sure that you are covering all of that fabric, that's all that area of pattern, which it does. Sorry, I hope you can see that. It just fits it. It's going to be a bit tight, but this is just so that I can show you what I'm doing. So we'll go and sew that, and then we'll come back. Now we're just going to keep going along until we've completed all 6, trimming it down to the 1/4 of an inch, adding the next piece of fabric, and then once that's done, we'll show you the finished piece. So there's my pattern. As you can see, the first 2 I've stitched down through the paper. Now the rest of them I haven't. I've done them how I would normally sew them, which is without sewing through the paper and by folding it back and just stitching close to that seam. That's the way I like to do it, because it just saves me having to rip out all those papers at the end, but like I said before, if you're new to it, then obviously sew down the papers, because it's the easier way. So there's my first finished part of the ring. Now what you need to do then is you need to take some interfacing, and you need to sew interfacing by sewing along this solid line all the way around to affix the interfacing to it, right side of the fabric next to, if it's a fusible interfacing, next to the sticky side of the fusible, and then just you make a slit and you pull it and turn it through, but I can show you that in a later video, but I find this the easiest way to do a double wedding ring. I have made one like it, and I will put the image on at the end, so I hope you enjoy it, understand it. If I can work out how to add a PDF into the description so that I can give you this pattern, I will. I've got to work that out. Okay, thank you.